One of the most shocking collapses in Pro Valorant history just happened, with the reigning Masters champions Sentinels losing 2 must-win matches in a row to essentially eliminate themselves from playoffs, missing out on their chance to defend their title. So what happened to the #1 team in the world over the last month? Well, there seems to be 2 main reasons why, and they're both very concerning for this team going forward. But before we can get into that, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Last month was the biggest month of growth I've had in the 2 years I've been making Valorant content, and it's just blown me away. So thank you, and if you want May to be even better, make sure you click the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single video throughout the rest of the season. Also, check out the recent Exit Frag podcast episode, where we go over last weekend's America's games and really diagnose what is going wrong with the teams like Sentinels and NRG. It's honestly crazy. So, before we go into why Sentinels are completely destroyed in their recent matches, we need to look at what really made them a world-class team to begin with. Because even though they aren't looking great now, it was no fluke that they were defeating teams like Paper Rex, Gen.G, and Lev. As they on some maps blew out these teams, they're still considered the best of the best. One of the main reasons for their success was how great they would trade off of each other, as well as allow players like Tenz to dominate when they were feeling it. With maps like Split seeing him be so impressive on the Omen. But every highlight from this team was preceded by great team play, not really relying on hero plays that no longer really work in the current meta, where every good team swings together. I actually made a video about this a little while back about how they do this on Split, specifically as they went on a run during kickoff in the beginning of Madrid that was unstoppable on that map, as the plans they had cooked up were perfect as it relied heavily on retakes, which threw a lot of teams off, especially when you have players like Zekken who can consistently entry at a top level, and johnqt, Zellsis, and Sacy, always playing discipline to trade off of him or Tenz when they were done clicking heads, as everyone in Sentinels started to mesh together at the perfect time, after surviving the play-ins, to make it to playoffs where they defeated NRG to qualify and Loud to win the tournament, leading to a historic Masters Madrid run that saw everything that was going good for this team in their first few matches just be amplified as they played against the best of the best, as they had a level of confidence that couldn't be stopped, especially as they were playing against a lot of unexperienced teams internationally that took a second to warm up in these tense games. So ultimately, the level of skill that Sentinels have individually, paired with the great team play and game planning by johnqt and Kaplan, catapulted them past Gen.G to win it all, and capture their second Masters trophy as an org. And with Split 1 starting, there seemed to be no reason why they couldn't keep up their superiority against regional competition. As they looked to be red hot with a win in the Clouded match against 100 Thieves, it looked like it was going to continue that way, as they still looked good on maps they felt the most comfortable with, as they didn't have to rely on just 1 or 2 players to save rounds. They looked like what Masters winners should look like. That was until they faced Aspis. I made a whole video breaking down some of the reasons why Lev won this match, but ultimately Aspis happened on Lotus to break the map kill record and to jumpstart his team who had been struggling so far this season. And it seemed like after that, they swapped situations, as Lev has since looked better and better as a team, while Sentinels' cohesion in maps like Icebox looked noticeably worse with them losing to Lev 2-0 to put them 1-1. And while they were able to bounce back against a poor MIBR team, against EG, the cracks that were forming in the foundation of Sentinels burst. As after taking a dominant 10-2 lead, where they were 3 rounds away from winning 2-0 and putting themselves in great position to make playoffs, they immediately collapsed completely, destroying themselves in the course of 1 defending side on Bind, as they lost 13-11 to force a map 3, that they couldn't win either, falling down 2-2. With Kaplan after the match showing his frustration about their poor play.
Really disappointed. Like, it fucking sucks. We played so bad today, and we had no business winning, and we didn't deserve to win. And if we play like that, again, this league split, we don't fucking deserve to be called the best in the world, to be called the best in Americas. We don't deserve to go to China. It was really bad. I'm just being earnest. I'm really disappointed. I don't understand a lot of what I saw. I think it's pretty pathetic.
But now with Sentinels officially taken down from the top spot, they still have a solid chance to make playoffs, but are now in a do or die match against the winless Loud team that look to have even more problems than them. So everything was looking up for them until Loud finally decided to wake up this split, with them working QCK into their game plan on Lotus, with them putting him in the right position all the time on the attack, with him picking up the first kill in a quarter of the rounds, leading to another sweep of Sentinels, giving Loud their first win in 6 games, and putting Sentinels at the bottom of their group, with almost 0 hope to qualify for Shanghai, really punctuating the month-long collapse of Sentinels after Masters Madrid. So when looking at why Sentinels have been struggling so much recently, it has to come down to one of the biggest issues that ended up happening to a lot of Masters champions after winning. Since they just went on a super long run, with them playing 13 matches before Split 1 started, every play they had built up over the offseason had to be used to lift that trophy. So when facing these teams in the region who are already very familiar with how Sentinels play, they can now anti-strat their best maps like Split and Lotus, which were the two maps that really secured them these wins, as the plans and mid-rounding they had on these maps throughout their run were impressive, with no one being able to stop them, as you can only permaban one of them really, leading to a sure map win for Sentinels, only needing to win one of the last two maps, putting them always in an incredible possibility to win the match. But as they revealed more and more, teams started to grow aware of what Sentinels wanted to do, and while they could ultimately outlast the teams in Madrid, as they were also in the same boat as Sen, with barely any time to anti-strat and change their own plans, it eventually caught up to them, as it was clear that Loud and EG were prepared for how they were going to play. Especially on Lotus, where they lost against Loud 13-7, and should have lost to EG as they went down 9-3 after their defense. But then EG of course choked. And it's so clear that it's all mostly anti-stratting, as there are times in rounds where EG or Loud would walk up so far on A, knowing Sen prefers to retake on this site, then using Jojimo or QCK to explode past the first defender, usually isolating Zellsis and making johnqt either fight in a bad position or run off site as fast as possible. This led Ja and QCK both to pick up 4 first kills in their matches, leading to bad defending sides for Sentinels. And even when EG or Loud decided to fight in Rubble, they now have util combos that could either force them back so far that they just have to try and retake the site, or they just get killed as they push up too far, leading to them only going 5-19 on the defense in their last 2 times on Lotus, a map that they went 6-0 on during kickoff and Masters, with teams by the end of their run starting to permaban that map due to how dominant their strats were. But this has happened on every map that they were once the best at, as every other team has already caught on to what they really like to do most of the time, really limiting their map pool. This leads to another major issue this team has: poor team play and inconsistent timing between some of the players, as we see time and time again when going through their VODs, especially against Loud on Icebox, where towards the end of the match, when things started to truly look like Sentinels would fall, they started to have so many bad swing outs on the post plant, where they would take a lot of 1v1 duels that could have been team peaks if they took their time and had better comms, something that they didn't really have an issue with throughout their run in Madrid. So now with Sentinels almost guaranteed to miss out on Split 1 playoffs and Masters Shanghai, how do I think they'll do throughout the remainder of the year? Well, with about a month and a half of downtime between their match against Furia and when Split 2 would most likely start, they have so much time to fix these two issues, as they both seem like issues that can be ironed out with practice and time, as with only 2 weeks between them winning Madrid and then playing in Split 1, they had barely any time to relax, let alone create new game plans, making it clear that the time that other teams like Lev and EG had, while Sentinels were pulling out all the stops at Masters Madrid, were the time that they needed to get better and better with new strats, without revealing any footage. I expect the same outcome at Break had for the other top teams like Lev and Na'Vi for Sentinels, as they have the talent and skill. They just need to bring the coordination they had at the beginning of the season to Split 2, along with a rejuvenated playbook. And I can't see them missing out on another playoffs in the next split. And I'm expecting them to easily qualify for champions, where I wouldn't be surprised if they went on a deep run and maybe pulled off a second trophy for 2024, as there only seems to be themselves stopping them from winning these last few games. But then again, that was the thought back in 2021 when they won Reykjavik. And it took 3 years for them to build another contender, so we might just have to wait until 2027 to see Sentinels and Tenz again in the conversation for best in the world. Make sure you check out the most recent episode of Exafrag, where I'm joined by smarter VCT creators like Zeph, Jcon, and Kyle from Chill Out Esports to dive deeper into why teams like Sentinels and EG are really struggling recently. So you can check that out, as well as make sure you're subscribed to this channel, as it really helps me out.